Got the Star Wars shirt on, you know what I mean? Uh, it says, "May the Lord be with you," but you get it. We're gonna talk Star Wars. Hello, everybody. This is Wholeviews, where you come to get a complete review from a different perspective. My name is Corey, and I'm here to tell you why The Rise of Skywalker could be a good time at the movies, or could be a very bad time at the movies, depending on where your fandom is. So let's start with the positives. I want to say that this is the final entry to the Skywalker saga. No longer will we talk about Skywalkers when it comes to Star Wars, and it absolutely feels like an ending to a saga. I actually, in my notes when I was watching the movie, I compared it to Avengers Endgame. Not in the way that it has a ton of characters and a 23 film arc, but there's so many little things in Avengers Endgame that you miss if you don't know the other movies very well. Same thing happened here with The Rise of Skywalker. If you don't remember certain things that happen in other films, uh, certain moments can like pass you by and you won't necessarily catch the weight of it or the fact that it's a callback to a previous film. There's a lot of callbacks throughout the film to previous films, and that's fine, but if you go in cold, there could be some things that might elude you. One very basic thing, not a spoiler here, but they talk about the Sith. And if my wife was with me, she was like, "What the hell is a Sith?" Well, you kind of gotta know Star Wars to come watch and enjoy this. But your level of fandom can affect how much you like it. The first half of this movie is full of plot devices. It's full of MacGuffins, just things to go after. It moves the story along at a pretty brisk pace. Some people feel like the first half was stuffed full of things. I don't feel that way. I feel like the first half was fine. I feel like the film overall was fine. Like, it's a lot of action that takes place, and because that action is taking place, it keeps you entertained throughout. And that's kind of what I expect from a Star Wars movie. I don't expect it to be The Irishman or uh, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or Knives Out, like this super well acted, super directed, interesting shots and all that. Like, I'm not expecting that from a Star Wars movie. I kind of keep it on like a Marvel movie type level. Like, yo, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be a good time at the movies. And it absolutely was for me. I like the pacing of the movie. There was a lot of world hopping. I like when you don't stick to the same few places. Like, you don't have to keep going to Tatooine, or you don't have to keep going back to Jakku. Like, jump from place to place. Show me different environments. Although they do end up on I think it's Endor or a moon of Endor or something like that. Back to a place that they've been before. As long as you go in with your mindset ready to just enjoy yourself and have a good time, then I say Star Wars is a very good time. Specific things I want to talk about, not trying to give spoilers away. I'm not doing a spoilers discussion because the fandom is always, in recent years, have been very split about Star Wars films. Um, but there are a few things that I feel like stood out in the movie, and I want to kind of bring them up and highlight them. Carrie Fisher passed away at the filming during the filming and production of the film, and you can tell that she wasn't as present as they would have liked her to be. But at the same time, to me at least, it didn't feel like they forced things with her. It didn't seem like they had to work hard to include her in the film. Like, her part felt very natural, her exit felt very natural, and it led to one of the most emotional scenes that I've ever seen from Chewbacca. Um, Again, my level of Star Wars fandom is I've seen them all. I enjoyed all of them, um, but I don't hold the series or the franchise in a very very high regard. Like, it's just something I look at when it comes on. Um, so I never felt much of an attachment to the character Chewbacca, and something happens. I don't want to give it away, but something happens in the film that leads to an emotional response from Chewbacca, and I was like, wow, I feel for him. I feel his pain in this moment, and I don't necessarily connect with Star Wars characters as well as I connected with Chewbacca in that moment, and I felt like that was noteworthy to say in my review. Um, I feel like overall it is a nice wrap up to the Skywalker saga. I feel like it's a nice wrap up to this new trilogy of films. I will say that if you are a fan, casual, of Star Wars and you just want to go have a good time, this is one for you. If you're just a person who's looking to go and have a good time at the movies and you know of Star Wars, but again, you're not the biggest fan in the world, I think this is for you. But if you're one of those folks that kind of like highly invested and you hold Star Wars dear to your heart, then that leads me to talk about my negatives of the film. And it may seem like I'm very, very negative on the film, but I'm actually not. I just noticed a lot. I went in, trying to walk the line between critic and fan. And the fan in me said, this is fun. I liked it. But the critic in me, and I'm not trying to call myself this big, huge film critic like I'm Roger Ebert or something like that, a person I watched growing up, do movie reviews, but I can see flaws, It doesn't take this well-trained eye to see the flaws in a film. So one of the things I like to talk about when it comes to the negatives of the film is the inconsistency of the franchise itself. And people like to point to Marvel now with the MCU being so well laid over such a long period of time, 10 years, 23 films, everything kind of, not perfectly, but everything kind of wrapped up real nicely. And, they put a bow on the franchise with Endgame and Infinity War. Like, those were two stellar films. And it's like, the inconsistency of Star Wars bugs me. Give me a second. Let me take a quick drink. Here's what I mean when I say inconsistencies. The Last Jedi proved to be the most divisive film in the franchise up to this point. And I liked it. I thought it was fine. I thought it was a good time in the movies. Couldn't stand the Canto Bite stuff. Couldn't stand the Finn and Rose stuff, especially the ending of that. But the action was great. I liked, Poe being a cocky fighter pilot. I didn't like the Poe and Commando Holdo. I didn't like that dynamic. I think that was in there just to like stretch the plot. I'm not gonna be too critical here, but I enjoyed the movie. I loved everything with Luke. I love Luke's ending in The Last Jedi. Like, the last 5 minutes was fire. But so much changed in the storytelling from The Last Jedi to The Rise of Skywalker that I feel like there's a lot here that I can point to. And I'm not going to give away spoilers. I don't care to do a spoiler discussion, as I might have previously stated. But here's a few things that they addressed that were previously brought up in The Last Jedi, and either it was retconned or it was addressed in a way where you could tell they were reactionary in their storytelling. So the issue of Snoke, it wasn't like people complained and they wanted to know more. Okay, so you get more. Rey's parents, people complained. We thought we got an answer. We get a different answer here. Luke's entire entrance in The Rise of Skywalker, if you didn't know he was in it, he's in it. It's The Rise of Skywalker. Luke Skywalker is gonna be in it. But Luke's entrance in The Rise of Skywalker is a direct reference to a controversy in The Last Jedi. I don't want to say that one. Finn and Rose's relationship, which was a thing in The Last Jedi, it's addressed in the most unnoticeable way ever. But it is addressed. And, if you watch the film and you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. How it's just like, oh, okay. I feel like, again, I enjoyed the film. I walked out and said, oh, it was pretty good. That was good. Somebody asked me about it. I said, it was good. But if you want to be critical, if I'm going to be critical of anything about The Rise of Skywalker, I would have to say it seems as if The Rise of Skywalker pissed all over The Last Jedi just to please a section of fans that were angry about things in The Last Jedi. I'm not gonna pick a side and all that. I watched the movies. I feel like both of them were ultimately good times at the movies. But if you were upset about either one of those films, I feel you. I, you don't have to explain anything to me. I got eyes. I observed and I saw the inconsistencies. I saw some of the things that kind of made no sense to do. I did like some of the new direction from The Last Jedi, and to see it kind of retconned here was a bit disappointing, but it didn't ruin my film. I just kind of accepted what the filmmakers wanted to do, and I enjoyed it. One last thing, I didn't address the Christian perspective. So, when it comes to the Christian perspective on this film, I would have to say there should be no negatives about this film when it comes to the Christian worldview, or being a believer in Jesus. Star Wars is space magic and laser swords. It is not the devil. It is not anything demonic. It is not a bad thing for your family to be looking at. There's no sex. There's no drugs. I would say Star Wars is definitely a family oriented type show. About this movie in particular, I will say it's a little bit, it can be frightening to smaller kids in the beginning, and then that last big battle at the end, it gets kind of horrific. But outside of those things, I can't see how anyone could look at the Rise of Skywalker through a Christian lens and see negativity. Um, I think it's good. I think it's good for most of the family outside of 5, 6, 7 year olds. But and I have girls, so that's why I say that. My daughter would be scared to see Palpatine on the screen. So that's kind of all I have to say about Star Wars. The Rise of Skywalker is a good time at the movies if you're not overly invested, if you're not super critical, if the franchise is not your everything. But if you are one of those people that's enraged by it, or The Last Jedi, trust me, I, I can observe. I see your issues and I understand. So, enjoy yourself, but guard your heart and come back and see me on the next one.